What I'm going to be talking about tonight is using Drozer, which is a little security tool that is very cool, has a lot of really useful things it can do. Drozer, because it is so outdated, it has a lot of prerequisites. It uses Java Development Kit 1.7, it uses Python 2.7. Like it has a lot of these older prerequisites that are sometimes difficult to get set up. And because of that, they have created a Docker container. So if you're not familiar with Docker, they have a Docker container that has everything you need set up. You can just pull down that image and run that Docker without having to do any sort of setup, and all those things that were pre-built in it are there and ready to go. You have to install Docker first, of course. It has like all this documentation on how to download it for Windows or Mac or whatever you're running. And it'll kind of like walk you through everything you need to do. The only issue that I ran into was it uses WSL2. WSL is the Windows subsystem for Linux. Docker uses WSL2. So even if you have WSL enabled, you have to like set WSL2 as your default, which that was a bit of a hassle to make sure I had everything set up. But there is a lot of documentation out there, so you might just have to like spend some time Googling and following some documentation and figure out what to do. But once you have Docker installed, you run docker pull fsecure labs, which is the name of the company that created Drozer, /Drozer. And it'll download everything. Then docker run -it fsecure labs /Drozer. So you see that the prompt changed. It was that Windows file system, but now it's that root at bunch of numbers. So now we are in the file system of our Docker container. All of that was to just show how to get Docker installed and get Drozer. Once you have the Docker container and Drozer, you also need an agent to install on the device itself. If you go to the Drozer website, you see the Drozer agent, which is an APK. You'll get this APK file, and then you can just use adb install it just like any other APK like we've done before in the past. And then you get this little app on your phone. Down at the bottom, when you first install it, it'll probably be set to off right here, and you just need to click that, and then it says at the bottom started embedded server on port 31415. I need to do something called port forwarding in order to talk to that agent. In order to do that, I'm going to once again use our trusty friend ADB. So I need to run ADB forward TCP 31415 TCP 31415. Port forwarding can get complicated, but all you really need to know for this is just in order for the agent on the emulator to talk to the container, you need to run this first. So now I'm gonna get back into my Docker container. We have to use this server flag, and if this was an actual like physical device, we could just put in the IP address of this phone as long as it's on the same like LAN network where it could see that IP. But because this is an emulator running on the device, we have to use a special flag. So if we do that, now we're in our Drozer console. You can just run list, and that will list everything that is already available, and it'll give you like a little explanation of what it does. There are a ton of things you can actually do with Drozer, but I'm going to look at like one example of like a way you can use it to manipulate an app. So I'm going to look at our trusty friend AndroGoat. All right, so this AndroGoat has a bunch of little challenges. I've already looked at a couple of them before when I've been demoing other things, but the one I'm going to look at tonight is this unprotected Android components. So basically what this will do is it's going to ask me to create a pin to like password protect something, and there's an invoice that needs to be password protected. You're not supposed to be able to access that invoice unless you know the pin that I'm about to set. So I'm just going to make it 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the pin I'm going to set. So I set the pin. So now anyone who accesses this app in the future, they're going to need to know that pin. So I'm going to verify pin. And now I get to this page that gives me the option to download invoice. So it says invoice is being downloaded. But let's say that I don't know that pin. Maybe I stole this phone from somebody else. Maybe I was able to install a malicious app on this phone, so I have access to it. Whatever scenario you want to paint in your head, go for it. Be creative. Just keep that in the back of your head right now, that we have that pin set up. We had the invoice that is safe and protected behind that pin. But we are going to try to investigate that app and figure out how to make it do things it's not supposed to do. So whenever we are looking at an app with Drozer, our first step we need to do is, for one, we need to get the actual package name, because everything we do to interact with it, we're going to need that package name. Okay, this is a little one of those little finicky errors that you get with Drozer sometimes. Is not a big deal. It just happens on occasion where something will time out if you don't run a command like for a little while, or it's been running for too long, so it just will say broken pipe. That's no big deal if that happens. All you do is hit exit, so it goes back to the root of the Docker container where Drozer is running. You can just hit the up arrow to go back to that command where you started Drozer to begin with, and then you're back into your Drozer console, and it still remembers your last command you ran from the Drozer console, so you can hit up arrow again, and then you're back at that last command you were trying to run when you got that broken pipe error. So that's just a little finicky thing with Drozer that you'll run into from time to time. But if that happens, it takes like 5 seconds to get back to where you were. So I ran run app.package.list, and that lists every single package that is installed on the device. So every app, every like background service, everything. But we need the one we're going to look at, which is that AndroGoat one. You can just do -F with like a keyword of the app you're looking for. So I can do -F goat. So owasp.sat.agoat, that is the package name for that app that I'm looking at. So now that I have the package name, I can run something called app.package.attackSurface. So you run app.package.attackSurface and then the name of the package. So our attack surface is, there are 2 activities exported. There's one broadcast receiver exported, there's 0 content providers exported, and there's 1 service exported. And also the app is debuggable. So what does all that mean? So activities are basically screens. So when you're running an app and you like hit a button and like something comes up on the screen, there's like a new page, you can think of it that way if you're thinking of it like a web page. And then you hit another button and it goes to like a completely different like part of the app and it brings up a new screen. Those are all typically activities. And usually a lot of those activities are all going to be internal, I guess is the word would be to use. So like they're not exported. They cannot communicate with anything outside of that app. But if they're exported, that means that other apps can call those activities, or like the app doesn't need to be open to call them. So every app is going to have at least one exported activity, and that's usually going to be called like the main activity or the splash activity or something like that. And that's going to be the activity that runs when you first open the app. When you tap on the icon on your phone, like I tap on the Twitch app, this screen that comes up, that is probably called the main activity or the welcome activity or the splash activity or something like that. That activity has to be exported in order for it to run from the menu when I click on it. And there are also broadcast receivers and content providers and services, and those three are also like these internal components of how like the app interacts with like the internet and how it interacts with background services and other apps on the phone. I'm only going to go over like an example with activities, but if you are interested in learning on how to interact with broadcast receivers and content providers and services, there are like tutorials and stuff out there for it. And the last thing it has here is it is debuggable. That's a problem, because if it is debuggable, that means that you can attach a debugger to it, and you can do things like set breakpoints where you can like run the app and then you can like pause execution at a breakpoint, and you can mess with like the memory and all kinds of stuff like that, and you can really mess with how the workflow and the business logic of that app works. But the main thing I'm going to show for this demo is working with activities. So once you run this attack surface on it and you get all this information, next you need to know like which activities are exported. So run app.activity.info-a and then the package name. And these are the two activities that were exported. And an important part of this is that both of them have their permissions listed as null. So there are no permissions required to run those activities. Now that we know the names of these activities, we can try to run those activities directly from the Drozer console. So we're going to run app.activity.start -- component, then our package name, and then the activity that we want to run. First, let's run this splash activity. App.activity.start - component oasp.sat.agoat. And then our component name was oasp.sat.agoat.splash activity. So now if we run that launched our app. So that's not going to be that interesting. Like, so we can open the app from the command line. That's no big deal. Who cares? But there was that second activity, oasp.sat.agoat.accessControl1View activity. That sounds like it could be interesting, and there are no permissions required, so anyone can just run that activity and see what it does. So we copy that, we paste it down here. Let's see what happens when we run that. So we just got to our page where we had that invoice. If you don't remember, we set a PIN to protect that invoice. So in the normal workflow of the app, we're supposed to have to verify that PIN, and then once we verify that PIN, then we get to this page where we can download that invoice. No one should be able to get to this invoice without knowing that PIN. But the app is closed now. I'm not putting in the PIN anywhere. If I open it back up again, it's asking me for that PIN again. So I have not put in the pin. I've not verified anything. But if I run that activity from the Drozer console, if I run that, it takes me straight to that that page with the download invoice button. And I can click the button and invoice is being downloaded. I was able to access this part of the app where you have that download button that you were supposed to have to verify a PIN to access. So whether the app is open, whether I've input the PIN, like none of that matters. Just because of the way they set up the app and they exported that activity and they made the permission null, so anyone can access that activity and run it regardless of any sort of permissions they have. Because of how they set that up, I can access that page and download that invoice that was supposed to be behind the pin. But you can kind of think about it of like, as this is a very basic example, you can think of how this could be used for other purposes and other more complicated apps. Like, I know there was an example, this was several years ago, and I would assume it's probably fixed by now. Basically, it was an app where you could watch NFL games on your phone, but it was like a subscription service. So you got the app for free, but you had to log into your account where you had to pay for a subscription. And then after you logged into your account with that subscription service enabled, then you could watch NFL games on your phone. But they did not properly configure it, so you could do something similar to this, and you could access different activities and stuff that weren't properly protected, and you could get to like parts of the app where you could watch games without having to pay for the subscription. So things like that, you can kind of imagine how if different apps have like different kinds of monetization and things like that, you can do some pretty serious stuff by just messing with the workflow of the app. I said I didn't really want to go through all of the like the stuff with the broadcast receivers and the content providers and the services tonight, but if you are interested in looking into more things with those and how you can interact with them with Drozer, there are like plenty of blogs and stuff out there where people have gone through tutorials of how to do stuff with that. Like so this is just a walkthrough that someone made, but they look at some other things like the content providers and show an example of that. So if anyone is interested more on like how to use Drozer, feel free to check that tutorial out and Google away and you'll find other things of how to use Drozer. There just one thing to keep in mind, because a lot of these like tutorials and stuff were written back before the Docker container existed. So a lot of them are just running it directly on a PC or a VM or something. So if you want to not worry about all those prerequisites, I suggest going through the Docker container like I talked about at the beginning.